Hi class. This week in Module 4, you'll be working on designing an object-oriented system rather than writing Java code. So when we talk about designing an object-oriented system, we think of a system where there are a number of different types of classes that are interrelated in some fashion. So what you'll be doing is you'll be basically implementing the business rules for classes, and that means that you'll be deciding what the class name is, what the class methods are, what the class fields are, or the class variables are. And then the other aspect of a class are the properties of the class. So the properties of the class are basically can be considered your getters and setters for your class. So when we talk about, one of the your critical thinking assignment requires that you generate a UML diagram, which is basically a uh, software document that describes the classes that comprise your Java project and the interrelationships of the classes. So when you proceed to construct your diagram, you're basically going to um, decide what your class is in the project that you select. You'll give your class a name, and then one of the aspects of your class diagram constructions, would be giving your class attributes. So this is basically where your variables are. And so when you define the variables for your class, you'll put them in this portion of the diagram, and you'll precede each variable name with with either a plus, hashtag, or minus sign. Well, actually, at this level of the game, I've requested that you declare all of your class variables as private. So in general, you'll precede your variable names with a minus sign to denote that they're private variables for this class. And then in the properties section, that's where you'll stuff your getters and setters to return or set values of your private variables. We haven't talked much about protected variables, and of course, we're familiar with public variables. Um, the other aspect of your class diagram consists of annotating the methods that comprise your class. So these are the functions that go into your particular class. Okay, so you'll be doing this for the different classes that make up your Java project, and then we at this stage we haven't talked too much about abstract classes, so no need for this part. So when you populate your class diagram, your Java project or UML diagram with classes, you need to show the relationships or the linkages between the class. So in this case, you may have an inheritance or an is-a relationship between classes. So you'll have like a superclass, and then you'll have two subclasses which are derived from the superclass. Okay, and then you'll show the arrow, the lineage, this way. So you could have some sort of object relationship this way. All right, so now there are special linkages or connector symbols that you'll use based on the type of class relationships that you have. There's aggregation, and in aggregation, the superclass um, gives way or has descendants, which are called for these particular subclasses. Now, the subclass for a superclass may be a subclass for a multitude of superclasses. Okay, this subclass may be shared with other superclasses, and so if that's the case, if this superclass has a lot of responds to a lot of if this subclass that is, if this subclass responds to a lot of superclasses, then you'll use this unfilled diamond connector symbol. Uh, and so that means if you were to say perchance delete the superclass, destruct the superclass, then this particular subclass will stay alive and respond to other superclasses. So likewise, and this kind of relationship is called aggregation. I don't know if this is mentioned in your book or not. The other type of class relationship that you may encounter in your design is known as composition, and this is called the has-a relationship. So in the has-a relationship, the subclass is dependent totally on the superclass. Okay, so so like it says here, the lifetime of the part or subclass is controlled by whole. So when you destruct the whole class or the superclass, the subclass dies with it. And that's not the case in aggregation. So you have aggregation, composition, which are both has a relationships, and then there's this is a relationship where essentially the subclasses are extended from the superclass. Okay, so you have choices to make um, of the type of relationships between the class. Is it aggregation, composition, or is a inheritance relationship? All right, and so there's the other notion of association. And an association linkage, basically, it's just a straight line connecting two classes, and it shows that A or one class interacts with another class. A interacts with B in this case. So A uses or interacts. So this is the interactive relationship. And then there's the navigability relationship. We haven't done too much of that yet. But when we have object A instance, then its behavior and methods will uh, move it into class B. So we may mention that later. Okay. And then there's the multiplicity relationship, an aggregation, composition, or association. And in this case, here you see the symbology on the both ends of the line segment connecting the two classes. For this one, this is a one-to-many relationship. So each instance of class A is associated with any number of class B instances, or that is each B class is associated with exactly one A class, and I may have an example forthcoming with that. So these are some of the symbologies. This is somewhat complicated and advanced. There may be, I'll check, there may be some simpler references in your book, and I believe it is chapter, what is it? Oh, I don't have the book. In the lecture notes, there may be some simpler object diagrams and references that'll be more useful to you than this rather advanced diagram from the University of Michigan, Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, class 381. Okay, so with that in mind, it would be nice if we had a UML editor so that we can draw these class diagrams and draw their linkages and plug in the variable names and the method names and the class names. Okay, so there is a tool in Eclipse, well, actually, there are several tools in Eclipse that allow you to do this, and it's the notion of the Eclipse plugins. One that I particularly like is this one from UMLET.com. And basically, if you go to this particular web page right here that I have highlighted, and here you have two downloads. One is a standalone download, and the other one is an Eclipse plugin. So if you download the standalone, it's basically an application that you can launch. It's an editor that you can use to build your UML diagrams if you so choose. In this case, I decided to let um, Eclipse be my UML editor. And so I downloaded this Eclipse plugin, and then it came down as a right here as this com.umlet.plugin zip file. And what I basically did is I unzipped it, and then here's the jar file right here. You can see the jar file. And what you want to do is you want to take this jar file and you want to copy it to where your Eclipse installation is. So in this case, my Eclipse installation happens to be this folder. On your machine, it's probably in a more sensible location than mine. And okay, so here's where I installed my Eclipse. And then you go to this plugins folder, and this is where you'll copy the jar file. Okay. So once you copy the jar file, you should be in a position to launch the UML editor from Eclipse. So let's see how that works out. Okay, so here's my Eclipse. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to create a project. All right, so let's go File, New, Project. Okay, and it'll just be a general project. Okay, and let's say we'll call it UML example. Will be my project name. Okay, and for the folder, I guess I'll put it in my CSC 372 module 4 UML folder. Let me go ahead and delete everything out of here. So I will go ahead and create my project in this file. I may have too many. Let's see, is that right? Yeah, okay, so let's assume we can go with this. Yeah, so we create a project space, and here it is, UML example. And okay, so once you do that, you highlight UML example, and then you'll go to File. Let's see, no, check that. You'll right click on UML example. Is that where I wanted to do? Let's see. I go here, and then I go to File. Oh, check that. Sorry, my mistake. Highlight UML example, go to File, New, and then Other. Okay, so click on Other, and then in your wizard selection, you'll have Other here, and then just select UML diagram, and then go Next. And then so let's say, in this case, my diagram name will be called Vehicle Inventory. Okay, and so this will be my diagram. Okay, so finish. Okay, and then here's your editor. Okay, so so you might want to become familiar with the aspects of the UML editor process. So here's the if you go here to this particular website, here's kind of like a very crude or user's guide on how to use this UML editor and how to customize different things. So there's a lot going on here. It's a very interesting resource. Okay, and then some help pages here. So just kind of hunt around and see what you can come up with if you choose to go with this tool. Now you don't have to, it's strictly optional. All right, so say the first thing we want to do is we want to add a class, a simple class. So here's our class. So you just drag it onto the editor right here. And then, so you want to, so in this case, we're really not working too much with packages in this class. So I can delete the package statement. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to delete package. So I hit, yeah, so I'll delete that line out. And notice that I'm in the editor right here where the yellow line is. And as I delete out the package, you see that the text is gone in the box. And then so let me say this is an order, okay, for a vehicle inventory system. So my class name is order. And then so some properties, can't think of any right now. I may come back to this later. Okay, and so the second part right here will be where I declare my variables. So I'll have an ID, which is a long, and a private long. See the minus sign? And then I'll have a supplier ID. Oh, let's go ahead and make, yeah, supplier ID is a string, I guess. So minus supplier ID. Okay, so that's a variable. And then what else can I have? Say an order date. Okay, so supplier ID, I guess, could be a long as well. Okay, and then I have say order date. Okay, and that'll be a date. Okay, so those are the variables, and then now I can go into the methods, right? So that would be the second part. I'll just go ahead and take out responsibilities. Responsibilities are coming from what your CRC diagrams, right? So you may, if you want, you can retain that and wire it into your class diagram as well. But let's just go ahead and put in our methods. Okay, so say find factory, okay, would be a method for the order. So that would be a public facing method. So find factory, okay. And another method may be such as find order, okay. So customer calls up and asks, where's my order in the vehicle inventory system? Okay, and then say find order details. Okay, what did the customer order? And then say find order defects. Okay, find order defects. Okay, so those are some of the business methods for this particular class. So there's our class. All right, so that's one class. So now we say, suppose we have an inventory class. All right, so let's drag an inventory class onto the editor, and let's put in some information about that. So say we have a class name of inventory. Okay, no packages, not at this level. Okay, no properties that I can think of, although we may come back to that. So the inventory has an ID, of course. It'll have a name, so we'll make that a string. Okay, and an order ID, which references the order class. So we'll order ID, and that would be a long, right? Okay, and then what else can we say? An inventory date. Okay, and that could be a date field. All right, so those are the data, and then of course we need the methods. What does the inventory class do? Okay, so I'll just go ahead and delete all of this. And we could do a find factory for our inventory. And we can do a find inventory. Okay, so those are two methods. All right, so there are two classes. And so now we need to show the relationships between the two classes. All right, so in this case, we could say that 0 or 1 orders maps to 1 inventory. Okay, so I can show you the association here. So let's drag this association. How about this one? We don't need an arrow yet, so I will drag this over here if it'll let me. There we go. It's kind of clunky here. That didn't work too well, did it? So let me delete this. I'm still figuring this out myself. Okay. Oops. Control Z. All right, so let's take this node and I'll put it there. Copy, paste. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's copy it. It's not quite perfected yet, is it? Okay, here we go. That's better. Okay, so to show the class relationship, is that the one I wanted? I wanted the line actually. So I don't want this one. I don't want an arrow relationship. I want a line segment. So copy, paste. Okay, so let me make it shorter. There we go. Huh. That went too crazy on me. So this takes a little bit of work here. No, I don't want that. So I have to kind of toy around with it. Delete. Okay. It's funny that it takes all of my UML elements out. Okay, well, let me work on this. Let me figure out what's going on here, and then we'll come back and we'll start showing the integrations between the classes. I need to see what's going on here. So go ahead and get this set up if you choose to do so, and then we'll go from here. All right, so